Hello, this is Kenny with Interview Friend, and today we have Frank Skandura with us. And Frank is the owner of Frank's European Service, and with one location in Las Vegas and one location in Henderson, Nevada. And Frank is the expert on everything cars and trucks, and he's going to shed some light on some things for us today and answer some questions. Frank, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go, Kenny. Thank you.
All right, great. First, Frank, tell us how you got started fixing cars and how that, start from the beginning. Give us some details and tell us how that led into owning a service shop.
Sure. I go way, way back. I think I was 12 or 13 years old. I used to hang out at the local gas station. It was across the street from my dad's barber shop. Grew up in a real small town in upstate New York, and my dad was the barber. There was one barber shop. My mom was the librarian. It was a 600-square-foot library. And there was a gas station that did repairs, and back then it was called Esso before they became Exxon. And I remember just hanging out and asking questions of the guys and being thrilled about seeing cars get pushed in and driven out. Some years later, I had an uncle working on a car, and I was asking him questions and kind of annoyed him a little bit. He says, if you want to know so much about cars, read about it yourself. And he gave me an encyclopedia from the 1950s, an automotive encyclopedia. And I actually read it from cover to cover. And not only that, I still have that book. And it just completely amazed me how these parts and pieces all came together. At the turn of a key, you can go anywhere you want. From there...
No, go ahead.
Good. And then from there...
You started taking things apart and...
I did. I was taking things apart, putting them back together. If I can, somebody give me an old engine, I take it apart, see how it worked. Anything I get my hands on, took it apart, put back together. And working at that gas station, there'd be sometimes, customer didn't have the money to fix a car. And I'd say, hey, boss, can I work on a car at home? And he'd tell the customer, if you let that kid work on your car, you're crazy. I would. I'd bring it to the house and work on it in the driveway, and kind of started doing side work that way. And that led me to my first job as an auto mechanic in the early 80s at a gas station in upstate New York. Not that same one I used to hang out in. And it was the early 80s when foreign cars were starting to come into the country. They were getting real popular. Had another gas crisis. Prices of fuel was going up. And I remember my interview like it was yesterday. The gas station owner said, can you work on foreign cars? I looked him right in the eye and I said, I have a Datsun. I can tune it up and change the oil. He said, you're hired. What was happening was the older guys didn't want to work on the foreign cars, the imports, and more people were buying them. So he was losing business from him. And, being a smart businessman, he wanted that work getting done. And I remember that quite vividly. It was quite a learning experience for me. I thought I knew a lot about cars when I got that job. I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did.
Of course. So, Frank, it sounds like this is something you didn't just, follow a parent into. You actually developed a passion for it. Would you say that that's true? And if that is true, do you think that's what has also led you to be so good at what you do?
Yes, absolutely. And no, I didn't have a parent, and this uncle wasn't really close. They lived in Florida. We lived in New York. I was just completely passionate about cars, everything cars. I wasn't that kid that liked Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Porsches. I was the Chevy, the Ford, the hot rod guy. And I can remember, as kids, us all working on each other's cars and getting them running and doing different things. Absolutely passionate. And I think, that's what drives me to be so good at it.